Welcome to the Film Florida podcast. I'm John Lux, and I'm the Executive Director of Film Florida. Today, our guest is Chad Newman from the Florida Keys and Key West Film and Entertainment Commission. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, Chad.
I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
So before we get into your current role in the Keys, how did you get your start in the industry?
Well, I actually started out as an actor years ago. Started out doing some acting work. If there is a costume out there, I've worn it. Like the crappiest costumes in the world, I've been out there. I played a roulette ball once for a lottery commercial, dancing around a big roulette wheel. Years ago, this was like 20 years ago, I did the Q-Line video for the Jaws ride at Universal Studios in Orlando. And I played Chompy, the great white shark. And that thing played for 20 years. My parents were so proud that they paid for college. And here I am dressed up like a giant shark in the Q-Line video at Universal. My friends of mine and I, years ago, back in probably like early 90s, decided to rent an office space at Universal Studios in Orlando. We had a small kind of film production company. We were trying to make things happen. But the cool thing was that we gave it access to being on the lot. One day, a big production company moved in down the hall from us, and I just went down there and actually just volunteered, saying I just wanted to learn. And so I started off as a PA for them on this show called the Weekly World News. It was they take stories from the Weekly World News, the newspaper, and they bring them to life in a news format. And it was such a fun show. We ended up doing we did the pilot in Orlando, and we did stories like about Bat Boy, half human, half bat. And actually, I played the world's largest 9-year-old in the show. Then the show got picked up and moved to L.A., and I was in the middle of breaking up with my girlfriend at the time. So I said, I'm just going to go to L.A. because I have a job lined up. So I moved to L.A., and I ended up doing that. We did like 13 episodes of that show. And after production, I went into post-production on the show, and that's where I learned all about post, and that's kind of where I felt my niche was. And so I did a lot of work in L.A., and then I came to Key West on a job and kind of fell in love with it. Went back to L.A., came back for another job down here, and I just said, why am I fighting all the traffic in L.A.? So I moved to Key West and started a production company with my business partner at the time, who I met down here, who's from New York. He's a shooter, and I'm a post-production guy. So it just worked out, So we did end up working for the last 14 years. We had a production company called Digital Island Media down here, and we're the only broadcast guys south of Miami. So we did a lot of work when people would come through town, HTV, Travel Channel, that sort of thing. So, for the last 14 years, I've been producing here in the Keys, shot in every location up and down the Keys, and in that time worked hand in hand with Rita as the film commissioner. And then the opportunity came up. She was retiring, and so I applied for the job and then got it. So that's how I ended up as the film commissioner here in the Florida Keys.
You had mentioned Rita, your predecessor, Rita Troxell, had been there for a number of years, and she's a legend in Florida in terms
yes,
of local film commissioners. So when you heard she was retiring, what made you think of such a role change for you to go from working in the industry for a number of years into being a local film commissioner?
Well, honestly, I was kind of looking for a change. In my work, a lot of times, even though every job is different, it's still a lot of the same stuff, And one of our main clients was the local Tourist Development Council, who Rita was working for. We did a lot of work for them, and but the business is changing, especially for small production companies. And we were kept running into the issue where we had a studio space and we had all this stuff. But, you got all these young kids running around with cameras and, doing stuff. And so our expenses were much higher than theirs, so they can undercut us in jobs and stuff. And I just wanted to change, honestly. And one of the things I really love about this job is there's so many possibilities. It's interfacing with people all across the world, really, in the entertainment industry. I work with people from Europe, from Los Angeles, from New York, who want to come down here, find the right places for them, locations, and put them together with local crews, and it's just a lot of fun.
So now you're the film commissioner in the Keys. So on your very first day, you're in the job. What's the number one priority thing that you have in your mind that you want to work on?
My biggest challenge from the get-go was kind of bringing us into the modern era, the 20th century. We didn't have any social media. We had some location photography, but it was all really old. So one of my things that I really wanted to do from the get-go was update everything. So many people are using the computer for location resourcing, and things like Real Scout, but even just Google Maps, going on Google Maps and stuff. So one of my initiatives actually is I'm upgrading all of our location photography from Key Largo to Key West, everything in between, and I'm uploading it to Real Scout. We have a Real Scout account, but on top of that, I'm also putting it in Google Maps, because one of the cool things about that is a lot of people don't use Real Scout. They just go look into a location and they find stuff, and so I'm going to take all of our location photography and put it right into Google. So I guess really just updating us and getting us kind of modern and using the computer and trying to make things more efficient.
And are there things that, obviously that's going to take a little bit of time because it doesn't happen overnight, but are there other things that you're looking more like 2 to 5 years out that you want to migrate things to, or you have goals of achieving that are going to take a little bit more time?
One of the things that, I think we have as an advantage, because I used to work for the TDC on the other side of it doing video production, is that we shot all been on the Keys for the Keys themselves, B-roll packages for people who come down, and we give them these B-roll packages. So we have a huge library of video footage. So one of the nice things about that is, and since I'm a post-production guy anyways, is I can have access to all that archival stuff. So I can go through and build video pieces for each of our major locations. Our big thing in the Keys is bridges. Everyone wants to come down and shoot on our bridges. There's 42 bridges from Miami to Key West, and a lot of car commercials. I love shooting on there, openings for movies, all that kind of stuff. So we have shot in most of those bridges at one point or the other. So I have video footage from every single bridge. And one of the nice things, actually the first week on the job, is I took all of our bridge footage and kind of made a quick mashup of just Keys bridges. So when a client calls, someone says, hey, we want to shoot on a bridge, I can send them this piece that's 2.5 minutes long with a bunch of different footage from different angles, and they can go through, and then we're all talking the same language. They go, oh, this looks like a great bridge, or what about this bridge or this bridge? And, these are all bridges that we've shot on a million times. We know how to, get the right permits to film on them, how to turn down traffic or whatever we need to do. So it just makes everything easy.
Chad, the more research that I do, your biggest asset, being the Keys, is also potentially one of your biggest challenges because you're a little more secluded than the rest of the state. How do you compensate for that, and how are you more effective and efficient even though you're a little bit harder to get to?
Well, in one respect, most of the people that come down here, the Keys is a character in their production. So it's an easy sell. The Keys are a unique location, unlike pretty much anywhere else in the rest of the world. See, we're pretty easy to get to. You can fly into Miami, and in Miami I have amazing resources, production resources, so all the crews are there, everything's there. And they can come down, and within 45 minutes, you leave Miami and you're in Almirada, which is where they filmed Bloodline. So you have access to amazing locations 45 minutes south of Miami. So you don't even have to really come down and end up staying overnight or whatever. That's great if you want to come all the way down to Key West, but if you want to get some of the flavor of the Keys, you can still do it very cost efficiently in the northern Keys. And the other thing I think is an advantage, again, we are a great location and everyone wants to come down here. It's a destination. So a lot of times people want to come down here just because they want to come shoot. We get big catalog work, especially in the winter when they're getting ready for their summer rollout. They're down here shooting catalog work. I think we just had Land's End here for a couple of days shooting for some catalog stuff. So they're all down here. They want to come down here. People want to come down here and shoot, and it's an easy sell. The one sticky wicket we have to deal with is it is a little more expensive because the hotels here are a little more pricey. Key West has one of the highest occupancy rates in the country, so they don't need to lower their rates. And a lot of times when I go to a hotel and say, hey, I need 20 or 30 rooms, and they just laugh at me because it's, they're busy, they're full year round. So it's finding the right times to come down and shoot, trying to avoid, heavy holidays, the times when they were really, really packed, and just kind of putting it all together and pitching them. Chad,
you mentioned Bloodline, and I know that was before your time as film commissioner, but you were there and you were around it. So talk a little bit about Bloodline filming in the Keys for 3 great seasons.
Sure. Well, so Bloodline was originally written to be a Key West show, but it just economically wasn't feasible to shoot in Key West. Again, the biggest detriment is trying to get crew and gear down there. Just as an example, last year we had a movie called Beach Bum, and they were originally another movie that was written to be shot in Key West, but they ended up shooting in Miami for most of it, and then they came down and spent a week down here shooting exteriors and whatnot. Now, in the 1 week they were here, they had 1,100 hotel room nights. So that's a lot of people to put up, and the average rate in Key West is about $300 a night. So that's a big expense to be down here shooting. So again, the challenge I'm always facing is how do we get affordable housing for crew and cast. The thing about Bloodline is they ended up shooting in the Upper Keys. They shot in Almirada and Key Largo, and the great thing about that is then all the crew can come out of Miami as day players. They don't have to put them up. They don't have to give them per diem or anything like that. They come down. It's a short 30, 40-minute drive. They can come down, work all day, and then head home. In fact, the Bloodline production offices were in Florida City, and they rented some studio space there, soundstage space, but all of the exteriors were shot down in the Upper Keys.
And for those listening that don't know the impacts that Bloodline had, was each season they would spend roughly $30 million per season in Florida-based workers and companies. And then the Monroe County Tourism Council did a wonderful study that showed the tremendous impact that Bloodline had on the local tourism industry. And so even though the series is now over, unfortunately, it's still there on Netflix, and people are still watching it, and they're still, attracted to the Keys because of what they saw on the series.
The study you're talking about was actually really interesting. So we did a study up the first season of Bloodline. This is just the first season, not counting the second and third seasons. So the first season of Bloodline, they spent $30 million in actual spend in the state, in the production, cost of the production over 10 episodes. Now, that $30 million generated $60 million worth of tourism impact, meaning people saw the show on Netflix and wanted to come down and either vacation. A lot of people moved down here. You can't everyone in Almirada has a story, like a realtor or somebody about people have come down and bought a place in Almirada just because of the show. Or now they have several tours up there. They have a bar tour, a Bloodline bar tour. They have a Bloodline location tour and that sort of thing. So it's generated an incredible amount of tourism dollars based purely on the show. So the $30 million spend created $60 million in tourism, so we had a $90 million impact just on the first season. We have second and third seasons now, and the typical run, you really have, I think Netflix is different than like a show, a network show, because a network show airs and you never see it again. With Netflix, it has a 10-year life. It's going to be there forever, for a long time, but it probably has about a 10-year life. So it has a nice long lifespan that people can watch it all around the world and fall in love with the place and then come down and want to visit.
Chad, in 2017, just after Bloodline ended, the Keys were hit hard by Hurricane Irma. First, I know it's a very long recovery process, so how are things going? And then second, some have suggested a television series like Bloodline, where they spend upwards of $25 to $30 million per season in Florida, would be good for the Keys to get the economy, booming again. Others have said that the extra people and extra traffic may hamper ongoing recovery efforts. What are your thoughts?
Well, the Keys are recovered. There's no question about it. The hurricane came in the middle of Keys and did a lot of damage, Big Pine and whatnot. Key West was largely spared. We had some downed trees, but we didn't have any flooding or anything like that. So Key West was pretty much fine right from the get-go. Middle Keys were hit hard. Upper Keys hit pretty hard. But for the most part, everything's recovered. All the hotels have recovered. So we're kind of back on track. The first year we were down probably about 25% tourism dollars, but I think we're on track to be, if not where we were the previous year, higher. Our tourism is back up and running. I mean, the biggest fight that we had was honestly just countering the news. The news wants to show the worst of the worst, so they're going to find every house that's been destroyed, and not to say that it wasn't just houses that were destroyed here. Absolutely happened, but so many people would talk to me or talk to them, and they would ask me how I was doing the Keys, and we are absolutely back to business, 100%.
And so you guys would welcome a big television series like Bloodline or something like that that's going to bring in that many more people and cars and traffic, but you guys are good to go.
Absolutely. I mean, traffic's an issue. I mean, we do have one road that goes in and out of the Keys, and we do fight sometimes with traffic. We do a lot of times when production will come down and want to shoot on our bridges. The only restriction is we can't do it on the weekends because that's our big tourism days. Key West is a big drive-in destination from South Florida, Miami, Fort Myers, Orlando, Tampa, all of those people. So we get a ton of traffic, and everyone comes down on a Friday, they go back on a Monday, so our upper Keys traffic gets a little hairy sometimes. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are the best times to shoot something in the Keys on one of our bridges because we have to close them down for safety reasons. We can close them down to 5 to 7 minutes. They basically get one shot, and then we have to open it up and let the traffic go, and then they can close it down again. We limit them to 3 times an hour. As far as we would welcome a big show to come down here, of course. It's great exposure for the Keys, a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunity, a lot of local spend. So it's a great thing. We'd love it.
So there's competition everywhere, obviously, for filming locations, and whether it's from another area of Florida or other states or even other countries. Obviously, the Keys has a unique look and feel that you can't find anywhere else, just like you had mentioned. Talk about a location or a look or something like that you can find in the Keys that most people wouldn't think about or would be surprised about finding out that that's available in the Keys.
I think the most unique places we have is a place called Fort Jefferson. It's out in the Dry Tortugas, which is about 70 miles from Key West. It's due west, I guess, out in the Gulf there, and it was a Civil War fort and built in early 1800s, and it's the third largest brick structure in North America. It's absolutely a must-see. It's a really cool place. I mean, it's this huge brick fort, and it's in the middle of a protected wildlife sanctuary, marine sanctuary. So you can't really do any fishing out there or anything like that. The water is crystal clear. I mean, it looks like something of the Bahamas. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And it's one of the most inaccessible national parks, actually. So it's a national park, but you can certainly film out there. You just have to kind of go through their rules. But I think it's one of the most unique locations we have.
And how would you get there? Is that through boat or helicopter?
Right, yeah. So we have 2 options. There's a boat that goes out every day and leaves at like 7 o'clock in the morning. And, you can load gear, whoever else you need on there. And they actually go out, and it usually comes back about 3. It's a 2.5, 3-hour ride out there. Or then we also have a fleet of seaplanes that goes out. They have a concession to fly out there, and so they go out 6 or 7 times a day. They take about 8 to 10 people. They're bush planes from Alaska, these hardy planes, and then they fly out. And that's actually my favorite way to get out there because you usually get out before the boat has got there, so you have the place to yourself, and then the boat has to leave at 3, so you can stay out there till like 5 or 6. And again, the water is crystal clear. And another thing that's actually unique about that place, just from a visitor's perspective, is you can actually camp out there. It's a national park, and you can actually camp. And I have never done it, but people say it's just amazing. There's no light pollution. It's unbelievable skies, stars as far as you can see. It's a really unique place.
Wow, that sounds like it would be a great place to be at nighttime.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful place. And of course, you can always go out there by boat. A lot of people do take private boats out there, charters, or people who have boats will go out there and anchor. You can anchor offshore and just hang out for a couple of days. It's a really nice little vacation.
Chad, every location or every area of the state seems to have a little bit of a niche in terms of things that they focus on, things that are a good fit for them, kind of things that are in their wheelhouse. What is kind of the niche that you're focusing on to bring the most amount of business to your area?
Florida's a unique location. There's all kinds of different places all around Florida. And I think the film commissioners throughout Florida are very helpful with each other. One of the things about the Keys is we're not a big concern for any of the other big locations like Tampa, Miami, whatever, just because no one's going to come down here and film a TV show or a movie, honestly, because it's very expensive and you have to bring everything in from Miami anyways. So, but it's a great add-on destination. So it's a lot of times people come down here and shoot 2 or 3 days here, 4 or 5 days there. We have a movie that we're currently working on that's they're looking for locations in the Caribbean, and they don't want to fly out to the Caribbean, so they're going to use Key West as a destination to sub in for some Caribbean islands. So that's a lot of the stuff we get. The other thing is, if you're coming down to the Keys is more than likely a character in your piece. You want to be here because the Keys is part of the flavor of your movie or TV show. So it's not like if you're going to shoot something in New York and you're looking to come down to the Keys. You're coming down here for a specific reason. But one of the things I'm focused on is going after smaller jobs, reality shows, small travel shows, that sort of thing, because it's a much easier buy-in. If you have a smaller crew, maybe 15, 20, 30 people in your crew, you're here for a small amount of time, week, 2 weeks at a time, and you can come down, and a lot of times reality shows, their big thing is they're always looking for characters. And I always say, you can't throw a rock without taking a character in the Keys. They're just everywhere down here. So it's a very rich place to mine for characters, especially in the reality genre.
So that'll do it for this episode of the Film Florida podcast. Thanks to Chad Newman for joining us. And, of course, thank you for listening. To learn more about the Florida Keys and Key West Film and Entertainment Commission, visit filmkeys.com. That's filmkeys.com. And, of course, for more information about Film Florida, go to filmflorida.org. And don't forget to check out our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn pages as well. And make sure you remember to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast as well on your respective mobile platform.